Hello everybody, boy Zach's back to attack yet another feature film, and today we're going to be discussing 2018's Widows. This is one of those films where the trailer really interested me and made me want to go experience this film in theaters, but sadly at the time I missed out on doing so, and now Widows is on DVD and I have seen it. So am I disappointed that I missed this film in theaters? Nah, not really. Widows follows four women who have nothing in common except for the debt left behind by their dead husband's criminal activities. And together, they take up their husband's criminal lifestyle and take their fate into their own hands, as well as conspire to forge a future on their own terms. When you see big actors in a film for roughly 2 minutes of screen time, it's either one of two things. One, it's either a big budget film that is well put together and is able to pull in big actors and take them right out just like that because they've got the money, they got the means, and the film holds itself on its own and doesn't need these big actors, but they do it because they want to or need to or yada yada. Or number two is a poorly handled film that has a low budget but has enough money to pull in and pull out of these big actors in the film. And they do so because they know no one else is going to go see this film if they don't have these big name actors in their film to begin with. And it's because they had no faith in the film, and this film would be that. It would be the latter. This film got Liam Neeson, and yes, he is in a lot of your average action flicks, but he is a big name. As well as Jon Bernthal, who his projects are more well-grounded stories, in my opinion, compared to Liam Neeson's. I mean, I love that actor and the projects that he chooses. Anyways, there's quite a bit in this film that ticked me off, but there isn't really anything that really stood out to me as something I really disliked. Especially in terms of cinematography, there really isn't anything that I really hated, but there is one thing in this, one shot in this film that stood out to me as something that just screamed unprofessional and lazy to me. The shot of Colin Farrell's character in this one shake leaving this rally, we see them enter this car and then the car takes off driving, and then we hear this entire conversation as the car is going from point A to point B, but the camera stays on the hood, at this side angle of the car, and it's like looking to one of the side mirrors, and it's just, and then the car and the shot is just going, and the conversation, you're hearing it all, but it doesn't cut into the car, it doesn't cut around to different shots or whatever, it just stays right there. Until we get to the next destination, the car stops, and then the camera pans slightly over to the other side of the car where the characters get out of the car, and we just stood in that one shot for so long. It felt awkward, it felt weird, it felt unnatural, and it just felt like something that what it seemed like is probably a creative choice in the eyes of a creative choice in the eyes of the director. They thought this is cool. We're gonna have them go into the car, and then we're gonna wait and hear out this conversation, and then whenever we get to the next point, it's all gonna be one shot, and then I'm just gonna turn the camera, and then they get out of the car. End of shot. And yeah, it came out that way to me that was probably a creative choice. But really what it seemed like is that the director went out for a bite while they were shooting this film, forgot that they were shooting this film, and then he came back real quick and finished up the scene and just turned the camera that way, or the cameraman or whatever. And it seemed lazy. Like they could have shown the characters, they could have shown one of the characters as they're talking, you know, like how movies do, instead of just leaving the camera right there. If you watch this film, you'll know the scene I'm talking about, and really it seems like maybe I'm nitpicking here, but you go watch that scene, it's weird, it seems just kind of out of place, and it seems like it should have been done differently. It just seemed lazy. It seemed like the director just didn't feel like filming in a car or something like that, which I think they do that other places in the film. So that's why I think it was a creative choice once again. But yeah, I didn't like that shot at all. And it really bugged me, as you can tell. They could have shown the characters, it just would have felt more natural, but then again, creative choice, like I said. But I think the director wanted this shot to stand out, and it did. Just, I don't think it stood out the way he or she intended. I don't know who directed this thing, but I don't like him. Just because it's one shot. You angered me because of this one shot. You had one shot. You blew it. I don't know, it just comes across as lazy in terms of the direction of the scene, and it really takes you out of the film for a second, and it just felt off. As for the writing of this film, I think that it also suffered from laziness, as the writers thought that this film would be more beneficial if the husbands were in the film as little as possible. Like 10 seconds of the film, and that's enough. I think a different approach for this film would have been a lot better. I think if you would have had the first 20 minutes of this film have the husbands alive and well, living their life with their wives, and seeing their criminal lifestyle as well as their non-criminal lifestyle, and seeing that all mesh together, seeing the wives and how they view their criminal husband's life, and seeing how it affects them. And then we get to see these characters loving one another and happy and all good and stuff. And then bam, these characters are taken away from us and the audience is left completely devastated. And it makes us really feel for the widows and wants them to get past this loss as well as get through this criminal lifestyle that they're taking on from their dead husbands, and want them to succeed because we have been emotionally invested with them from the beginning with their husbands that we too, the audience, has also lost. We want to see them succeed, but sadly this film really lacked in making us feel for these characters. It would have been the correct move story-wise, because I just didn't feel an investment to these widows, to these wives, to these characters that this film is all about. And it's because of that this film kind of, sucks. They really lacked in fleshing out these characters properly. For a film titled Widows, I really didn't give a damn about any of the widows. I cared more about their husbands, like Liam Neeson and Jon Bernthal, and getting to see them more in this film because they were not cutting it. The women were not cutting it. I wanted to see the husbands doing stuff via flashbacks or something, even though I saw them die at the beginning. And that's sad. That's sad that that's what I wanted. I was like, give me more of the flashbacks, because this is not working out. Now, I love Viola Davis. I love the roles that she picks for characters. This character was just this strong woman that could handle herself. She took action for herself, and it was a really good character for her, as she usually does pick those characters. But the script was really lacking, making me not really give a damn about Viola's character, despite her good performance in this film. As for the widows, I've seen these actresses around before in small roles, and that's kind of how their characters felt in comparison to Viola's character, just small. It was nice to see Daniel Kaluuya in this film. He was great in his antagonist role, and as plain as it was a pretty generic, plain villain antagonist role, but he did with it what he could. And there were some good scenes with him. And if he looks familiar to you, you might recognize him from Black Panther, or most notably his lead role in Get Out. Great films, by the way. Highly recommend them both. And although it was nice to see Viola and Daniel in this film, as well as appearances from Colin Farrell and Garrett Dillahunt, I just feel like these actors, much like Liam and John, were just wasted in a film like this, and that their talents could have been brought to a better range of films. Even the other actresses who played the other widows, they just weren't much in terms of character. And I could tell it wasn't on them, it was completely on the script, and just the story and the dialogue they were given was just, it was bad. It's just a shame. This film really seemed to drag from start to finish. I mean, the trailer, it made it out to be this badass team of crooks that were taken out, and then the wives would avenge them, take up their criminal lifestyle, pull off this heist, and what we got was a more sloppy, dragged out version of that. It was a cool premise to a film, but they just squandered it. I wanted to see more of Liam, and especially of Liam and his wife, as well as the other widows, like I said earlier. But what you did was you gave us these flashback scenes, and I really think that they should have just all been scrapped, as they were completely useless. It was just of the two, it was just of Viola's character and Liam's character, you know, the two together in bed, and they just laid there, and that was it. They you know, gave each other kisses and smiled, and I mean, that's great and all, but what you should have given us in the flashbacks is other things. You should have just seen their life. It should have been more like, it's like you only had enough money to film Liam Neeson with Viola once, so you just had them kissing each other, laying in bed. That's it. They smiled, but it was just, it was overplayed, I thought. Just those same, it seemed like the same scene. You were just showing them laying together, and then later in the film, Viola's upset or something, and then they're laying together, and that's great. Yes, couples do that, but Jesus, stop. It was very overplayed. Like, they did it like a dozen times in this film, or at least it felt like it. Alright, I'm going to get into some spoiler territory here for a second, so I'm going to go ahead and pop up a spoiler warning for you right here. Should be right here, right there, right there. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go into that, and you can just mute it if you want to go see this film. I wouldn't, but you can go ahead and mute it if you're planning to go see this film, or go buy it, you know, and go watch this film. So, and I will eventually pop up another sign that says unmute for you, in case you are wanting to go see this film for yourself, which you have the right to do so. Okay, so Liam Neeson at the end of this film, turns out that he dined on his crew at the very beginning, and he caused the explosion that killed all of them. He put in a fake dummy or something in his place, or a fake body or some shit, and he is the bad guy of this film, and he actually is working with Colin Farrell's character, I guess. And I'm sorry, it was confusing and stupid, and it turned out really shitty. So that's why I'm kind of like, but it's kind of like the writers knew that they had a shitty film here, and so they were just going to throw in some crazy twist that no one will see coming, and that'll get people to love this film. That'll do it. Nope. Doesn't work that way. Not really. It made this film, this shitty film, and made it even shittier. Pardon my French, but fuck. Then we learned that Liam and Viola's character, that right there, that tells you how much I dislike this film. I can't even bother to go look up these characters' names for this film, even for your benefit. It's that much of a waste of my time to go look up that shit for you in this video. Because I'm not going to go bother and look at the IMDb and see that these characters' names is so-and-so, because they're forgettable, and I don't care, because this film is garbage. Anyways, as I was saying, we learned that Liam and Viola's character have a son. They showed that for some reason. The son ends up getting shot and killed by a cop for reaching for an anniversary gift for Liam and Viola's marriage that the kid had for some reason in his car. That doesn't really matter, but you know what? None of it mattered. Why? Like, it's not unrealistic. Cops shoot. He was a black son, and they shot him. And yeah, it's not unrealistic. I'm not saying it's unrealistic. I'm just saying, why have that in this film? I didn't need it. It didn't do anything for the story that I can remember. Was there a story? Later in this film, they add Cynthia Erivo, who I recently seen this actress for the first time in a movie called Bad Times at El Royale, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. And in fact, if you're going to take anything away from this review, it's that you should watch the films that I discuss in the movie review for Widows, and not the Widows movie itself. Just go watch Black Panther, go watch Get Out, go watch Bad Times at El Royale. Don't watch Widows. Like I was saying, Cynthia Erivo She was added into this film, and I loved her in El Royale, and I loved her in this. Just her character talking down Viola's character, who is calling all the shots. It's just another female character that can handle herself, and I really liked her addition to this film. Things seemed to go really well for the widows in their heist until they let an 80-year-old man get the drop on them, which was really stupid because they had him. But at the sight of him, they just dropped their weapons, they got scared, and then I think a character got shot, and it was just ridiculous. Like, what do you think was going to happen in this stressful heist situation? Do you think you didn't have a chance at running into anybody at all? Are you stupid? Like, you weren't prepared at all. Like, I know you're not like criminals like your husbands, but like, use some brains, woman. Oh Lord. What else to say about this film? Spoiler wise, I mentioned Liam. He shows up. He's a bad guy. Yada yada. He dies at the hands of Viola's character, and yeah, this was just a really poorly done film. It was just awful. Don't watch it. Anyway, so let me unmute. Cool. You unmuted. Cool. Spoilers are over. Really didn't care for this film. Didn't turn out to be the film I wanted or expected it to be. By the end half of the film, I just begged for it to come to an end, and after a while, it thankfully did. I'm gonna give Widows a 3 out of 10. So guys, have you seen Get Out, Black Panther, or Bad Times at El Royale? I hope so. Just kidding, we're talking about Widows. So guys, have you seen Widows? If so, comment down below, let me know what you guys thought about it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know. And without further ado, fellas, Zach Lights, you should leave your boy Zach a like and hit the subscribe button on your way out, as I would very much appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm Zach Attack. You're you. Thanks for watching. I don't know what I'm doing.